Find yourself looking for a new job or change in career? Monster.com is here to help. We are not only here to bring you job postings, but also AI interview prep and salary tools, expert career advice, and top-notch resume services. We've got everything you need to land your perfect job fit. Discover the magic of finding the ideal job with Monster.com. Your future starts now. Visit Monster.com today. Your next job opportunity is just a click away.
Welcome to episode 83 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me as always is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, what is going on?
What's happening, man?
What's happening? One of my favorite shows from my childhood.
You still watch it today.
Rerun. Raj.
That's all you can watch is reruns.
Shirley. No, I'm doing pretty good, man. I feel better. My voice is better than it's been in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So. It's like butter.
It's not quite butter, but it's not the sandpaper gravel that it was last week.
That's true.
And that strep throat, it kicked my rear end.
We knew it was going to be problems.
Yeah, it was a problem.
Yeah. But you got through it, man. You toughed it out. You're a trooper.
We got through it. Yeah, we always do.
I stepped up, took care of it, man.
Oh, you always
step up. I said two extra words.
2 extra words to help me get through it.
That's right.
And I appreciate those 2 words. It made all the difference.
It's important.
All right, Gibbs, we've got some Patreon shout outs. We had Bri.
Hey, Bri.
You know, I have to apologize to Bri because this was a shout out that probably should have come some time ago.
Yeah.
But got skipped. So big apologies there. We had Mackenzie Rose.
What's up, Mackenzie?
Tiffany Thompson.
TT.
Evan Patterson. Katie M.H.
I wonder if he's related to James.
You never know.
Yeah.
About Katie M.H.
Just M.H.? I'm been trying to think what that stands for.
I don't know.
Maulhauser.
Dusty Thorhauer, big fan of the show.
Thanks, Dusty.
Has been on Patreon, jumped up to our highest level. So we appreciate that. Kelsey Williams.
Thanks, Kelsey. Eric
Selenak.
That's
what I'm going with.
This reminds me of like the baby formula.
Similac?
It's close.
Your last name reminds me of baby formula.
It does.
Hi, Erica. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
We had Sam Sherlock.
Hey, Sam.
Bobby Ecker.
Cool.
Thomas Lancaster.
Awesome.
Scott Hull.
Like Hull?
Exactly like that.
Wow, that's pretty good. I got that.
Yeah.
Phonics skills kick it in.
Your hooked on phonics is really paying off,
Best thing you ever bought me.
I know.
Thank you.
I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Lauren Maines.
Hey, Lauren.
Zoe Little.
Zoe? Little?
Lidd.
Oh, Lytle.
It could be.
Yeah.
But it's 2 Ds.
One's soft.
One's hard, one's soft.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Well, I don't know. Zoe will tell us probably. Anastasia Martin jumped out at our highest level.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Hannah Potts jumped out at our highest level.
Hannah stepping up.
And Haley DeMark jumped out at our highest level.
Thanks, Haley.
We had Christopher Morgan.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks,
Tahina Crawford. Cool name.
Sounds like, I keep telling you, it sounds tropical.
Let's get tropical.
Yeah, but she's probably like from like northern Canada.
Untropical?
Untropical.
Terry Timlett jumped out at our highest level.
Oh, that's a cool name.
Paul Brand.
Thank you.
John Bacalar jumped out at our highest level.
Backer a lot.
T. Richardson.
Thanks, T.
Terry Lawrence.
Thank you.
Trisha Rathke.
Thanks, Trisha Rathke.
Hannah. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hannah.
Hey, Hannah.
Megan Harrington.
Harrington. That's like a Dallas or Knots Landing kind of name, right?
I don't know because I didn't watch those shows.
I didn't either.
You just gave it away,
I think
brother.
It was playing in the background when I was growing up.
No.
Like mom was watching it or something.
You're thinking of Carrington. That was.
Now you were watching because you knew the
Dynasty.
exact name. You knew it.
You gave it away.
You
though.
probably got the poster in your bedroom.
Then if we go back into the vault, Gibbs,
All right.
this week we selected Linda Nielsen. Been with us a long time. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, Nielsen rating family.
We appreciate all the Patreon support we get. And then we had some PayPal support.
Ooh, I like PayPal too.
Sarah Anna Sophia Pajanen.
So thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Anna. And thanks, Sophia.
Yeah, I don't know if that's 3 different people.
Or if it's all one, thank you, SAS.
Or if that's 4 names. Molly Hildebrandt
Hey, Molly.
and
Thank you.
Albin Hall.
Hey, thank you so much.
So we appreciate that support as well. Gibbs, we just got done taping True Crime All the Time.
We did.
Lemuel Smith, out of New York, serial killer, piece of work,
New York.
not a household name, but this guy did some horrible things.
It did.
And it's one of
in
the-
and out of prison.
In and out of prison. You know, he was in and out, did some bad stuff out, then did some bad stuff
He
in.
wasn't out very long, but the time he was out, he did. He racked it up.
What did we calculate? He has spent about 60 years of his adulthood in prison.
That's a long time, man.
So he started early because he's 77 years old.
Yeah. So that tells you right there.
All right, let's get to Unsolved.
Let's do it.
First, we have to give a big shout out
Yes.
to Jacqueline Fraser
Yes.
for her help in researching and writing of this episode.
Yeah, she did a great job. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
She's down there around this area,
Yeah, she is.
not too far from the area where this case takes place. And
Yep.
you and I met up with her at CrimeCon.
Southern gal.
Yep. And she offered to help us out on one,
Yeah.
and here it is. So we're talking about the brutal murder of Russell and Shirley Dermond in rural Putnam County, Georgia. And Putnam County is in the Piedmont region, about 80 miles southeast of Atlanta.
Yeah, that's about right.
Is it about right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're just affirming my geography skills?
Yeah, I'm just, I know where it is on the map. I'm just visualizing it. And I would say it's just slightly south, not direct south, just slightly southeast of Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
I like the affirmation. It makes
Yeah.
me feel good.
Yeah. I like how you threw in the Piedmont region.
It's in the Piedmont
That's
region.
a fairly popular description in that area when you talk about the Piedmont.
Mm-hmm. It is. So Russell and Shirley were married on December 15th, 1950. And they had 3 sons and a daughter together. Eventually would have a total of 9 grandchildren.
That's a big family.
It's a big family, a lot of grandchildren to dote on, to love, to cherish.
I like big families, man.
Their youngest son, Brad, would talk about his parents in glowing terms. Would say that both of them were just total family people. What they loved most was to spend time with the family, with their grandkids. They were both very religious. Shirley was an avid writer, artist. She loved crossword puzzles.
I like crossword puzzles.
I do too.
Are you any good?
I can be.
Are you talking like normal crosswords? Or are you doing the ones that are like for, your wife teaches like 4th grade or something? Or are you doing
Fourth grade.
4th grade crossword puzzles?
No, I like the hard ones, like New York Times.
Yeah?
I'm
Dive
not
into
saying
them?
I'm great at them, but I've got some skills.
Just do like a true crime all the time crossword puzzle.
We should. Why don't you figure that out?
First one that gets it back to us gets a surprise.
Why don't you do that? That'd be great.
Yeah, I can.
You're offering up.
Is this reverse crosswording? I can do it.
Where you just fill one out and then make up the questions and then take out the answers?
There you did. You just figured it out.
Is that
for
what
me.
you're saying? Reverse crossword?
Yeah.
Russell was a businessman. Now, he was strict. He loved golf. He loved to play golf with his son, Brad. At 88, Russell was very fit for his age. He was a World War II Navy veteran, and he was known, Gibbs, much like yourself, as a quote-unquote manly man.
Manly man.
He was a man's man.
Man's man. That's right. Cigar.
Scotch.
Scotch.
I don't know if he drank or smoked, but
Yeah.
he was an executive at the firm that made Seth Thomas and Wes Clocks clocks. It's kind of hard to say.
It is kind of hard, but it's high quality there.
It is. It is. The couple moved from New Jersey to Georgia, and then they got into the fast food industry. At one point, They owned over 19 Hardee's restaurants in Atlanta.
That's a lot, man.
That's a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
They made a lot of money. They were a wealthy couple.
With 19 Hardee's, you got to have some money for sure.
Russell retired from that in 1994. Like I said, he loved playing golf with his kids.
You know, I don't go to Hardee's very often, but the one time I did go to Hardee's was with you.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 8 years ago.
Is that when you spilled a full Sprite in my brand new
Yes.
SUV?
Yes, that was a Hardee's.
Oh my gosh. I will never forget that.
They supersized my Sprite. I didn't ask for it, but they supersized it. And I laid it on the floor to get something. I can't remember. Maybe it was the breakfast sandwiches that we had, and I was getting it ready. I don't know.
We were going somewhere for work.
Yeah, we were. We were headed down to Cincy. And all I remember was I laid it on the floor, and then some lady decided to pull forward when you were still there and rear-ended you just enough to make my Sprite lean forward. That lid popped off, and that whole thing dumped out.
So not only did she smack into the back of a brand new SUV,
Yeah.
Gibby dumped 8,000 ounces worth of Sprite all over the car.
It was wet, man. It was soaking wet.
I like Hardee's. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. You like that gravy they put on their sandwiches.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
But, we're talking about Russell. He loved playing golf. He loved his friends. He loved his kids. He loved his family. Shirley loved to play bridge. She took walks every day. And we mentioned Russell was 88. His wife, Shirley, was 87.
That's really good that they were that active, though. Seriously.
They were very active.
To walk, to play golf. I never played bridge, so I don't know what's involved there.
I don't either. I haven't either. In 2000, the couple moved to Eatonton, Georgia, and they built a massive 4,200 square foot, $1 million home in a gated community called Great Waters. This is in a cul-de-sac overlooking Lake Oconee. And this place is gorgeous. I mean, if you see the video, if you see the pictures of it, it's an unbelievable house, on the water, great views, nice lake. It's like a dream retirement home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's wooded, very private. This is known as a place for wealthy retirees.
I even read somewhere that the guitarist for REM lived back there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it had a golf course that was designed by Jack Nicklaus.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So we're setting the scene, right? Who these people were, where they lived. They were married for almost 64 years. They did everything together. But the last time that Russell was seen alive was Thursday, May 1st, 2014, when he ran some errands in town. According to store and bank surveillance videos, Russell transferred money at the drive-through lane at the Lake Oconee branch of the People's Bank at 2:15 p.m. He then traveled to a nearby Publix, which is a grocery store, at 2:26 p.m. to pick up a prescription for Shirley. This prescription was for an upcoming cataract surgery that she was having. He also picked up a loaf of bread and some cucumbers.
Maybe they're going to make some cucumber sandwiches.
Maybe.
Pretty good. You ever had one?
No, does not sound good. I like cucumbers. I like sandwiches.
Yeah.
I don't think I would like cucumber sandwiches.
Just a cucumber sandwich, man.
What
Kind
do
of
you-
light.
What do you put on it?
A little mayo.
All right, maybe with some mayo.
Yeah.
I do like mayo.
Just a little light,
But when you see this video, Gibbs, and you see Russell, he's wearing dark glasses, khaki shorts, a green polo shirt, and dark gym shoes. These are the same clothes that police would find later in his bedroom when they searched the house. Later that evening, before dinner, Brad spoke to his parents on the phone. And like a lot of times that they talked, Brad said they chatted about how their day went. Russell and Shirley were supposed to attend a Kentucky Derby party that weekend, but they never showed up. A neighbor grew concerned after, trying to call them, trying to make contact with them for several days. And eventually the neighbor goes to check on the Dermond. But this is Tuesday, May 6th. And when she gets there, Gibbs, she finds a horrifying scene. And she calls 911.
Putnam County 911.
Yes, I have an emergency.
Okay.
I think I have somebody dead.
So this neighbor, the woman that made the 911 call, had brought her husband along with her. They were at the Dermond home when the sheriff arrived. And these neighbors, they were friends with the Dermonds, but they were the ones that were holding the Kentucky Derby party, had invited them to come, the party that they never showed to. And what they told the sheriff was that they had gone inside the house, they had looked in every room, calling out for Russell and Shirley as they went. But it wasn't until the husband walked into the garage and actually walked around a little bit in the garage that he saw the headless body of Russell Dermond. And it was in between the couple's two cars, a Lexus SUV and a Lincoln Town Car. Can you imagine that, Gibbs?
I could not imagine walking in and seeing that.
A neighbor, a friend, you're concerned about them.
Yeah.
But you sure as hell don't think you're going to find something like that.
No.
This is not somebody that has died of natural causes and nobody's heard from them. You find them. This is a headless body.
Yeah, and you're back in a wealthy, gated community. It'd be pretty alarming.
So when the police go in, they discover Russell's headless body, but that's all they find. They don't find any trace of Shirley, and they also don't find Russell's head. The police would determine that the decapitation had been done post-mortem because of the lack of blood spatter, and the cut was very cleanly done just above the collar line. So I think your thinking, Gibbs, was, whoever did this was very skilled with a knife.
Yeah, precise, had time to do it, wasn't frantic and rushing, and made any rough cutting mistakes or anything like that.
And also maybe somebody that had knowledge of this process. Because
the anatomy.
Or how, some knowledge of anatomy because of the way it was done. But to your point, they definitely had time, or they took time to do it in a very careful manner. But they also probably had time. They weren't being rushed. They were in the garage, secluded. They weren't afraid probably of somebody coming in, walking in on them.
Yeah. And I did think it was interesting too that they took the time to get towels and place towels around the body, where the blood did drain out, to make sure the towels absorbed it instead of the blood running out underneath the garage. That way nobody that would walk up, like the mailman or, newspaper boy, whoever, they wouldn't see blood coming out from underneath. So kind of smart there too.
No, it really is.
That they did that.
Later on, they would determine that Russell's shirt had gunshot residue on it, which made investigators think that, maybe he was shot in the head. And this is the reason why the killer removed the head. Because what we haven't talked about yet, Gibbs, is they really don't know how Russell Dermond died.
Yeah. So I think one of the theories was that he could have been shot with like a 22, because 22 wouldn't have given you a big mess inside the garage, right? It could have went in and then just stayed in his head. Then the suspects decided to remove the head to basically take the bullet with them, since they couldn't get it out, so that way there was no evidence left behind.
Again, Gibbs, this seems like somebody that has either put a lot of thought into this or is fairly intelligent. This doesn't seem like a, drugged out person that is committing a crime by the seat of their pants. Let's put it that way. But because they don't have the head, there's no way for them to know for sure the cause of death. Now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation believed that he was either likely killed by blows to the head or, like you said, Gibbs, gunshot to the head.
Right.
Something to the head is what had to have killed him, because they didn't find any other wounds or evidence on his body.
Right, yeah, exactly. So it had to be, like you said, the head.
But to this day, his head has never been found. So this is all theory. None of this can be confirmed.
And that makes it really hard. Even they would have to eventually find the skull in hopes that it would show some type of, hammer, pipe, crushing
Gunshot.
or a gunshot. Yeah, something.
According to the sheriff, there were no signs of forced entry, no indications of a struggle inside the home. Nothing was out of place. There was no jewelry, medication. Nothing seemed to be taken. Didn't seem to be a burglary. I mean, they went as far, Gibbs, as to say that the house was immaculate, as if you were staging it to show it to a home buyer.
That's well kept, showcase condition.
The only thing in the whole house was that the bed was unmade. But you and I have talked about this before. I don't like to make my bed.
You say you never make your bed.
I think it's a total waste of time.
Yeah, why make it if I'm going to turn around and get right back in it?
Exactly. So I'm not putting any emphasis on that.
You wanted to do the podcast from your bed at one point. I was like, that's going too far. Can't do it.
With you in it? No, that never happened.
You said.
That
I
never
said, no,
happened.
I draw the line right here, right now. And then you know what? If you did do it that way, you'd have the big comfy bed and you have me on some cot or something. That's just like these chairs.
A futon with no mattress?
With no mattress.
All right, so let's talk about the timeline that the sheriff put together. They narrowed Russell's murder down somewhere between 4:30 p.m. on May 1st, when the mail was delivered, to 6 p.m. on May 4th, when the couple failed to show up for the party.
So they know by the video surveillance when he was in town, doing the bank thing, does the Publix thing by getting his wife's prescription and the bread and cucumbers, I think. And then we know he talked to his boy later. So that's the last confirmation that anybody has. And then, of course, somehow they're able to determine that the mail was delivered, that they received it or something there. And then because it was very uncharacteristic of them not to go to one of the parties in the gated community where they belong with their friends, that at that point, I think the police said, we know they would have went to this party, or they would have called and excused themselves from the party. And they certainly would have answered one of the many phone calls that they received from their friends. So that's the reason I think they pinpoint this time down.
So to your point, Gibbs, they had to have had some evidence. I mean, you and I couldn't find it, but some evidence of the fact that it's not just that the mail was put in the mailbox, right? They had to have gone out and gotten the mail, is what I'm thinking. Because just the fact that it was put in the mailbox doesn't really mean anything to me.
Right.
The other thing I'm thinking, and I don't know how you feel about this, it's kind of a big gap in time. It's essentially 3 days, from the afternoon of May 1st to the night of May 4th. It's a little bit over 72 hours. Police found Shirley's phone and her purse in the house, but they have no idea where she is. There's no trace of Shirley. And they had crews out searching for her for days with no luck. Her face was plastered on billboards, electronic billboards around the county. They brought in cadaver dogs to search as well. They even dredged the cove around their dock. The sheriff was quoted as saying, "The State Department of Natural Resources sent down the most sophisticated underwater equipment that's available today. You could see a Coca-Cola can on the bottom of Lake Oconee at 60 feet.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. And of course, he would say Coca-Cola because they're in the South or in Atlanta. There is nothing else but Coca-Cola.
Well, I am a Coke guy. I do like Coca-Cola.
And I'm a Pepsi guy.
They do make Pepsi in Dayton.
I don't know what that says about us, but
I don't know, but I do like Coca-Cola, man. Coke Zero, Mountain Dew.
that's Pepsi.
It is?
Yeah.
You sure?
Mountain Dew's made by Pepsi.
I think Mountain Dew's made by Coca-Cola.
No, Mellow Yellow is made by Coca-Cola.
Well, I like Coke Zero,
Okay.
so I'll just stick with that.
Yeah, I'm a Pepsi guy. It's not that I don't like Coke.
And McDonald's has the best Coke ever, man. You ever get a Coke from McDonald's?
Yeah, what human on the face of this earth has not had a Coke from McDonald's?
But it's like different, man.
It's very good.
I think it's that tiny little ice that they give you.
I don't know. I miss the old days, man. I like my pop, my Cokes, my Pepsis, and bottle.
You can still buy them that way at Sam's Club.
Yeah, but I think they're made in Mexico. They always say made in Mexico on the side.
Oh, really? Well, probably cheaper to bottle them there, I guess.
I don't know. They don't bottle them. As far as I know, you can't really buy. You can't go into a Speedway or a gas station and buy a bottle of Coke or Pepsi like the old days.
Not the glass bottle, you mean?
Yeah, the glass bottle.
Yeah, I got you.
Like you used to go to the supermarket and buy like a 6-pack. And
get them nice and cold.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got off track there. So they have a lot of people involved in this search. I mean, the FBI, the Department of Natural Resources. There's a lot of agencies involved in this case. But it's on May 16th that 2 fishermen on Lake Oconee found 87-year-old Shirley Dermond's body face down, floating near a dam in the lake. This is about 6 miles from her home. So this is a pretty big lake, Gibbs. I don't know much about Lake Oconee, but it's 6 miles from her home, and her home is on the lake.
Yeah,
So this is not a small lake. And when these fishermen find her, the state that she's in, Gibbs, her head had been bashed in, and her ankles were tied together, and attached to that was a 30-pound cinder block. So obviously, this was used in an attempt to keep her body submerged, but it didn't. The gases escaping the body caused it to surface. So obviously the sheriff's department comes, they take Shirley's body out of the water, and one thing they realize is that she is way beyond the search area that they had set up in the lake. Right? I don't think they expected to find her that far from her home. They hadn't dredged places that far away, 6 miles away. Shirley was 5'2", but her body had swelled to almost twice its size, to twice her weight from being submerged in the water for as long as it was. The coroner would later determine that she had been dead when she went into the lake, and that her cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head, and the wounds were vicious. They penetrated her skull. She was fully clothed. There was no sign of any sexual assault, but they couldn't determine where she was killed. They had no evidence of that. So the police go back, they scour every inch of the home again, but they didn't find anything. They didn't find a knife. They didn't find, any type of item that may have been used to kill her or anything that was helpful in solving this case. They couldn't find fingerprints. They used luminol. They used forensic lasers. They used everything they had at their disposal forensically, but they just had no luck. Police questioned over 250 people. Now, if we go back to Russell for a minute, when his body was found in the garage, one of his fingers had a pretty severe wound on it. And they found strands of Shirley's hair tangled within his finger. So it appeared to them that, maybe Russell had been involved in some type of struggle with the assailant or assailants where he was trying to protect Shirley. But now they have a double homicide. And you mentioned it, Gibbs, occurring in a community with an extremely low crime rate. This is a very affluent community, gated. This is not where you expect to have a double homicide. So they interviewed, all the residents. They interviewed every gardener, handyman, laborer. Everybody that had been in that community was checked out. Even the couple's 3 grown children submitted 2 polygraphs that they passed. They were extremely cooperative with police. The parents' estate was divided equally between all 3 kids. So there's really no incentive there.
No, not at all. And they were, like you said, they were incredibly cooperative.
Yeah, there really was, maybe at first there was suspicion, but I think it very quickly went away from, any of the kids. This was a couple that had no known enemies. But the one thing that we haven't talked about yet, Gibbs, and we saved it, we didn't want to, kind of talk about it right up front. The couple had a son named Mark that was shot to death in 2000 while he was buying drugs. Now, they did catch the person that killed him, but police looked into it. They couldn't find any connection or association between, that murder and the murders of Russell and Shirley. Investigators poured through phone records. I mean, they investigated even back into the couple's college days. That's how far they went back. They just couldn't find anybody that would want to hurt these people.
That's pretty far to go back, for, an older couple, but that
60 some years.
Yeah, it says a lot about how they had to be pretty good folks, pretty just normal, everyday people, that they couldn't find anybody that was, disgruntled with them, And I think that's why, even today it's still unsolved. It's just so hard. They can't find any solid leads.
Now, we've talked a couple times, Gibbs, about how this was a gated community. They had a guard post, a guard shack, right, that you had to get past to get into the gated community. But the security cameras were not working during the time when Russell and Shirley were killed. And that's unfortunate because that could have possibly provided police with some very valuable information. And it was just bad luck that the cameras were out. Apparently, they had been hit in a lightning storm days before, and no one noticed they weren't functioning. But the couple's other surviving son, Keith, I think he's questioned this. He also has questioned the fact that, visitors' license plates weren't routinely recorded, and has said that, basically almost anyone could have driven in undetected. And I get what he's saying, but really, Gibbs, there's no certainty that, the killer or killers, if there was more than one, came in by car at all. We talked about the fact that Shirley's body was disposed 6 miles down the lake. There is a chance that somebody could have arrived by boat. It is a lake. Their house was on the lake. It's lakefront property, right? They have a dock.
Right.
So it's not inconceivable that somebody could have come in that way. They did offer a reward for information regarding the murders of Shirley and Russell. And we've touched on the sheriff a little bit. His name is Sills. His last name is Sills. Sheriff Sills. Sheriff of Putnam County. He's been the sheriff there for the past 20-some years. But before that, he was a detective. And he worked on multiple murder cases and apparently had solved every murder case that he had worked on up until this one. So you can imagine, Gibbs, how frustrated this guy is. He has a record of solving murders. Now they have this big murder and they have no answers.
It's tough, it really is. You're trying to do something good for the community by trying to solve this, put this to bed, put it to rest.
And for the family, too.
And absolutely, for the family foremost.
Yeah. Now, he does have some theories. I think Sheriff Sills has said that he thinks the couple knew their attacker. He also thinks that more than one person was involved. But he's also come out and said that we have no DNA, we have no fingerprints, we have no motive, there's no evidence of a break-in, there's no evidence of a robbery. Gibbs, these folks had Rolexes that were still in the house. They were wealthy. They had valuable items in the house, and nobody took a thing. That tells you something. Somebody, I'm not a detective, but it says to me that, I don't know what the motive for the murder is, but the motive was murder. It wasn't money. It wasn't anything like that. Somebody was out to kill these people. For what reason, we don't know. And in a lot of the articles that we looked at, Gibbs, Brad, one of the surviving sons, it's been very rough on him. And I'm sure it has on Keith as well. But,
Sure.
Brad has talked about the fact that, he talks to his dad. He dreams about his dad. He's even said that his dad comes to him in dreams trying to give him clues about his death. But he wakes up before he gets the information.
How terrible would that be? You have it. You're going to get the information, but you can't stay asleep long enough to get it. You almost want to be hypnotized and like be forced to stay asleep, but it probably would never work that way.
Yeah, it would be very frustrating. But the other thing I think is very frustrating for him is that he knew his parents. He knew what good people they were. He doesn't believe they had, these dark secrets or a dark side. I mean, they're 80-some years old. You just can't imagine somebody wanting to take their life. Sheriff Sills has talked to the press, too. I mean, he's been investigating this thing for, Gibbs, 4 years now. And he's just as frustrated. No leads, no evidence. They don't know for sure why the head was cut off. They have their ideas, some of which we talked about. Why did they dump Shirley's body where they did? I guess the FBI came in, they did a profile, but there really wasn't much there that was useful. It basically said that the killer or killers liked guns and knives. It's not much to go on. But the sheriff's office continues to run down every tip, and they reach out to other law enforcement agencies regarding other murders of elderly individuals where decapitation occurred. And don't forget, we talked about this, right? They still have never found Russell's head.
No.
So anytime that a head is found, and hopefully that's not too often.
Exactly.
But every time one is found, is sent off to have the dental records examined to check to see if it could be Russell. All right, Gibbs, in this case, we don't really have suspects like we do in a lot of the unsolved cases. What we have are some, I don't want to say the word strange. Some of them are a little stranger than others, but we have theories. There are theories out there that we ran across. One talked about the fact that there is a woman that has come to the sheriff for a number of years saying that her son was a serial killer. But apparently the sheriff has checked this person out. There's nothing there. Now, there's another theory that the Dermonds were put into witness protection when they lived in New Jersey because Gibbs? Maybe they knew something. They found out something.
Seen something.
They turned on somebody. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then they were moved to Atlanta as part of the witness protection program. But that eventually the mob found them.
Yeah.
And killed them. Now, the thing about that, to me, is the cinder block. I mean, that is one of the things that you always hear about in the mob stories where, they're weighting people down with cinder blocks.
Right.
Usually in a river.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence of that. It's just a theory.
And you also wonder if they were going to go to the extent of doing that with her. Well, how difficult was it to go ahead and pick up his body?
And put it in there too?
Yeah. Take it out on the boat, cut the head off, and then why leave the body behind? I don't know. And would witness protection? Well, I mean, they had their own money, so maybe they took their own money with them. I don't think witness protection would have set them up with 19 restaurants. Maybe the government would. I don't know.
But see, the thing that doesn't make sense to me is they didn't change their name. How can you go into witness protection if you didn't change your name?
That's
why that theory to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right. I mean, it's out there.
It's out there. Just last year, there was a man arrested in the same neighborhood for slashing tires with a big knife. Now, the guy had priors. He was checked out, but the sheriff dismissed him as a suspect in the murders. And I go back, Gibbs, to us talking about how it does seem like this was somebody, whether it was one person or multiple people, with intelligence, forethought. There was some thinking put into these murders and, trying to hide them and, cutting off the head and using the towels. And again, I go back to the fact, I just don't think this was a willy-nilly, off the cuff type of murder. There was a reason for it. There was thought put into it. I just wish we knew what it was.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap it up, there is one other case that I want to talk about. And this is the murder of Lois Colley. She was killed in 2015. Somebody bludgeoned her over the head at her house. But the reason why, I bring this case in, she was 83 years old at the time of her death, but she was the wife of a millionaire McDonald's franchise owner named Eugene Colley. And there are some similarities in this case. These were elderly people. They were restaurant franchisee owners. They were millionaires, bludgeoned in the case of the two women. So I don't know if there's a connection here, Gibbs, but Georgia authorities are looking into it or have looked into it. I don't know if they're done looking into it.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of bizarre that they have some things that line up.
It's pretty far away. I mean, this happened in New York, right? So from Atlanta to New York, geographically, it's pretty far away, but there was no sign of forced entry in this case either. There was nothing taken except for a small fire extinguisher, which police believe to be the murder weapon.
Yeah.
So that wasn't taken for, it was nothing of value taken.
Right.
It was said, Gibbs, that Eugene at one point owned maybe as many as 100 McDonald's restaurants.
Wow.
And he made a fortune.
Well, you had to if you own 100 restaurants. Probably talking $100 million a year, man.
I don't know how much a McDonald's restaurant makes, but if you have 100 of them,
It's a lot of Big Macs.
you got a lot of money. There's no doubt about that.
It's a lot of those dollar Cokes.
I think the other similarity in the two cases, Gibbs, is that, this again was another community that was a small community, affluent people. It was said that this was the first homicide they had in 4 years.
So, you're in a high wealth area, so you're typically going to find low crime.
Yeah, there was just no serious crime. But again, I don't know if there's any connection or not. I just thought it was interesting from the standpoint that it was similar. Now, the husband wasn't killed and decapitated, so it's not exactly the same, but it's similar enough that the Georgia authorities have taken an interest in it and have looked into it. So I don't know, Gibbs. I mean, we do these unsolved cases. We talk about a lot of victims, and it's always tragic. But here we have what is, by all accounts, this loving couple.
Yeah.
That are in their late 80s.
Worked hard all their lives.
Yep. Built up,
Navy
fortune,
vet.
Took care of their kids.
Yeah. Did everything right.
Took care of their grandchildren. I just don't know who wants to kill an 80-some-year-old
Almost 90,
man and wife if it's not for financial gain.
Yeah. What did they do? They cut you off? Road rage?
Road rage? Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand.
And I think that's why this case perplexes people as much as it does.
And the kids were found clear. I mean, they didn't have anything to do with it. They inherited. But when he retired, he gave them or sold them the business. So they had the restaurants already.
They had money.
And they had their own money, So I just don't really know, like you said.
But I think these are the cases that drive people crazy because you just can't even find a whiff of a motive in something like this.
Yeah, and no DNA to track down later.
It's going to be very, very difficult to solve unless, they break into somebody's house serving a warrant on something and find
the knife
or the head
or finally someone feels guilty enough that they say something.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. But that's it. That's the case of the murder of Russell and Shirley Dermond.
Yeah.
We've got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to hear those?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Pete from the podcast Murder Metal Mayhem. I just wanted to say we love your show. I've been digging it now for a couple months. I enjoy the banter between you guys back and forth. And just keep up the great work, man. And just wanted to say hello from Illinois. Take it easy, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Pete from Murder Mayhem.
Murder Mayhem.
Podcast. Check that out, Gibbs.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete, for the voicemail. Appreciate it, man.
We do. We appreciate it.
I'm glad you're listening.
Very much.
Hi, guys. This is Meg Weaver. I wanted to thank you for the Patreon shout-out during your story about Bret Michaels. I love Mason Poison, but I have to say their best song is Talk Dirty to Me and not Every Rose Has a Thorn. Sorry, Mike, you're wrong there. Anyway, it reminded me of a story when I was living in New Orleans, right outside the French Quarter, and I was taking my son to school, and the school was in the French Quarter, which interestingly is the same school that Lee Harvey Oswald went to. Anyway, and I almost hit Kid Rock and his Pamela Anderson-esque girlfriend, and may or may not have been running late and rolled through a stop sign. Anyway, so Kid Rock lived another day thanks to superior disc brakes and was able to give this world such gems as Podunk and Redneck Paradise. So you're welcome. Keep your own time ticking, guys. Love you. Bye.
All right. So Meg Dreamweaver, as
Dreamweaver.
Gib would call her.
Did she leave out I'm a Cowboy from Kid Rock?
She did. She also said I was wrong in my choice of best Poison song.
Well, you do have an acoustic guitar over here. If you want to bring it over, I'll strum it while you sing, and we can see how she feels about that.
Sing them both, and we'll see which one comes out.
Exactly.
She loves her some Poison, though.
Does.
That's a good story about Kid Rock. And the French Quarter. You know how much I love New Orleans.
Nolans, y'all.
I love the French Quarter. Love to go get me some Cafe du Monde.
Oh, yeah, those, what are they called?
Beignets.
Yeah.
And their chicory coffee.
Yeah, beignet.
My kids love
We
New
need to do
Orleans
a New Orleans podcast. So,
well, we're going to be in New Orleans next year for
year.
CrimeCon. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, this is Angel. I'm a truck driver, and just want to let you guys know I'm a new listener, and I definitely love the show. You guys are great. I love the back and forth action going between you two, and I got to say it, Team Gibby. So keep it up and keep your own time ticking.
Gibby's got the truck driver vote. There's no doubt about it.
hey, and we're a little sad. You know, we lost Bandit.
Yeah, we did.
We lost the Bandit, man.
When was that? It was this week.
Yeah, it was this week we lost the Bandit.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
Yeah.
I was a big Burt Reynolds fan, and then especially a big fan of the Saturday Night Live skit where Norm Macdonald played Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, he did a good job.
On Jeopardy, and he said his name was Turd Ferguson.
Yeah.
That's always cracked me
That
up.
made you happy, didn't
It
it?
cracks my kids up, too.
Yeah, that's good.
Hi, you guys. This is Tracy from San Pedro, California. Absolutely love your guys' podcast. I am obsessed with all of the ones that you guys do. Every time you guys mention a new one, I got to jump over and listen to it. I drive tractor trailers for the Port of Los Angeles for a living, and all I'm doing is driving 8 hours a day. So this is definitely something that keeps my day flowing. Love you guys. Keep up the great work. Gotta say that I'm Team Fergie. Love you, Gibby, but gotta say Team Fergie. All right. You guys be good. Keep your own time ticking.
All right. We love you, too. And I was wrong, Gib. You do not have the professional truck driver vote. It's
There you
split
go.
now.
It's split.
50-50.
I know it. Got a little Team Fergie action there. That's all right.
Hiya, Mike. All right, Gibbs? Thorben here yet again, your newest convert from over the pond. Just to say I'm still hooked, spreading the word here in Blighty. Even told my own mother-in-law about it way up in the north of Scotland, so she too can lie in her bed transfixed with your stories to keep her warm for the approach of those cold autumn nights. So the only problem from my end is that I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I have to squirrel myself away to keep getting my fix. Hoping she doesn't walk in while I'm listening, at which point I have to switch over to some edifying documentary about dolphins or something. Anyways, I'm sure you know, we have some pretty mad bloody bastards in this part of the world as well. Speaking of which, have you done the Moors murders yet? I was looking at your backlist and I couldn't see them. Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. The household names here, but not quite so well known in the States, I don't think. Anyway, check them out. They had the whole of Greater Manchester terrified for years, especially anymore with young children, and some of the victims still haven't been found to date. You probably know all this. In the meantime, keep your own time ticking and keep scaring the wits out of me. What can I say? You're my guilty pleasure.
We like that. We like to be somebody's guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if she's listening to Unsolved because she gave us a solved recommendation. She might just be listening to TCAT, but
right.
The Moors Murders is definitely on the list. I think it might be more well known over here than she thinks it is, though.
Maybe.
I think a lot of people know about it, but it's on our list for
sure. They will after we do it.
They would.
Right.
All right, Gibbs. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.